Q4 2025 has kicked off with a remarkable momentum as markets continue to hit the record levels across the board. The US and Japanese equities have surged to new all-time highs. Gold has shattered the $4,000 barrier for the first time in history, and even Bitcoin has soared past the $126,000 mark. But what's driving this rally? Is it a weakening US dollar, or maybe a speculative bets, or genuine economic strength? In this episode, we take a closer look sa nangyari sa Q3 and Q4 trends and what the road ahead might hold us as we approach the end of 2025. Hi smart traders, Gab Santos here. Welcome to our year-end market recap for quarters 3 and 4. Now this year has been full of twists and turns in the market, and in the last 2 quarters, we saw some really interesting moves, big rallies, unexpected pullbacks, and trends that caught many traders by surprise. So today, I'll walk you through the story behind these market movements, why they happen, what influenced them, and what we can learn from them as traders. Okay sir, simulan na natin yung Q3. So unang-una sa Q3, karamihan ng traders or investors bumalik ka na lang risk appetite. So sa kadahilan ng karamihan sa kanila, embrace nila yung cyclical sectors and high risk assets, and it signaled a renewed confidence in the market outlook. And aside from that, yung mga AI related stocks rallied sharply in both the US and sa China. Despite sa growing concerns about a potential AI bubble, they call it that, yung market momentum continued to drive gains this quarter or nung Q3, And pangatlo, yung mga emerging markets outperformed expectations. They benefited from a softer US dollar and easing trade tensions between the US and China, and it helps them to surpass yung developed markets. And even sir, sa mga small cap stock markets, it also gained traction and it outperformed their largest counterparts in multiple regions. Dahil yung mga investors, they look beyond the dominant mega caps for growth opportunities. And at the same time, yung na-mention ni sir dun sa Q1 and Q2, the weak dollar trade surge. It helps the gold price and Bitcoin na ma-boost, and yung other countries with strong exposure sa gold kagaya ng Canada, Australia, South Africa, and even the UK. Yung mga countries na yan, it stood out with an impressive performance.
So, very interesting yung nabanggit mo kanina, Gab, na bumalik na naman yung risk appetite ng investors. And may nabasa nga ako na ang mga tulad ng mga JP Morgan, mga Citibank, Bank of America, mga malalaking institutional investors, parang lahat sila nag-concentrate sa pag-invest ngayon sa AI stocks. Are we going to see na magkakaroon ng rally sa AI stocks in the near term?
Oh sir, malaking possibility po yan kasi dahil nowadays yung mga investors nasa fintech era na tayo, and lahat is high tech, and even how we trade the market. So there's a high probability or possibility na pwedeng market yung AI stocks. So yun sir, simulan natin sa United States. Now sa US sir, yung equity landscape remain still tech driven, but with more complexity emerging the market surface. And yung sir, yung mega stock or mega cap stocks dominated, and though yung mga performance become more uneven, yung mga tech giants continued to surge. Yung iba naman they've plateaued, and it also suggests that there's a shift towards selective conviction and potential mean reversion sa mga mega cap stocks. Also yung mga small cap stocks are Eden, it also began to shine nung Q3, and it indicates that majority or some of the investors they broaden their scope, and they think that may mga opportunities dun sa mga less followed segments of the market kasi iningatan nila, the more na mas maraming noise, malaki din yung potential risk. Kaya yung mga small cap stocks, marami ding tinignan niya as a potential investment. And meanwhile sir, yung mga growth stocks, bolstered by the still AI fueled revenue growth, tumaas din yung kanilang speculative bets or optimism. And the market's hunger for innovation still appears stronger than its fear of risk. And since na-mention natin, sir, kanina, yung mga mega and small cap stocks, to be specific, yung mga top performing sectors, particularly yung communications, halimbawa niyan yung Alphabet and Meta, it's also driven by a solid ad spending and deeper AI integration, which is, I think, you can agree with me, sir, no, na lahat ng mga companies nowadays, everywhere yung mga ads nila. And in contrast, the energy sector lag, no? It also weighed down to the falling oil prices na nag-pressure dun sa mga earnings. Next naman natin yung sa European side, no? Sa European markets, it actually cooled after a strong start of the year, no? For example, yung sa ECB, they've signaled a more balanced inflation outlook, while sa UK naman, yung mga equities, it actually found a support from rising metal prices. Even healthcare, no, lumakas yung kanilang healthcare sector, and a rate cut in August, all of which provided a boost to local indexes. Meanwhile, sa Asia, particularly sa Japan, yung markets, or a lot of markets hit record highs, powered by still global AI demand and improvements in corporate governance. Yung mga Japanese REITs stood out as a strong performance as well. And meanwhile, sa China, it led to a global equity returns, buoyed by the economic stabilization, even the government stimulus and easing trade tension with the US, which is nabanggit nyo, sir, sa part ninyo, no? Now, sir, sa Q4, particularly sa US, there's a sense of cautious optimism. Yung economic fundamentals remain solid, but the concerns are growing around lofty valuations and the market's heavily reliant sa AI sector, both which raise the red flags for some economists and analysts. Now, there are positives and negatives sa current na status ng Q4 natin, no? But yung una, yung positives, nagkaroon ng robust corporate earnings and sustained investments in AI, which helps support the market. And additionally, yung potential fiscal stimulus could also give a boost to cyclical sectors like financials and industrials. Meanwhile, yung possible negatives, elevated stock prices and lingering uncertainty around government policy, particularly yung sa tariffs ni Trump, sir, no? And also suggests that there's a potential prudence, no, dun sa side. Now, outside the US, international markets appear to increasingly attractive. However, sa investor sentiment side, it's still closely tied to developments in the US. Now, here are some of the key risks na kailangan nating i-monitor as a trader and investor at the same time. Number one, yung US policy uncertainty. Now, there's a shift in the domestic policy, and it can also influence the US dollar, the inflation trends, and yung interest rate direction, all of which have ripple effects across global markets. Meanwhile, pag-uusapan naman natin yung sa China, economic outlook sa red, there is an ongoing concerns about China's growth continue, and it can also impact the emerging markets in other countries, which is reliant on commodity exports, making it a critical area to watch. Now, there's no denying that the momentum behind AI investments remain a major market driver. And just to answer the question, yes, this has been the narrative for over a year now, and rightly so, no? The capital expenditure cycle in AI is still going strong, showing few signs of slowing. Now, if we try to predict the market pick as a notoriously difficult, it often leads to missed opportunities. That's why we need to keep a well-diversified portfolio of high-quality stocks. And hindi lang stock market, no, but as you know, whenever we trade sa platform, there's a lot of instruments or boatloads of instruments. They can, trade currency pairs. Like I mentioned, sir, kanina sa ETFs, they can do that. Precious metals, energies, and even the indices. So having said all those instruments na pwede na lang i-trade during the platform, whether they're using MT4, MT5, yung mga diversification kasi ng portfolio, it can help us to stay exposed sa possible upside of ongoing tech innovation while managing the inevitable bumps along the way. Now, looking ahead sa mga earning growths, of Magnificent Seven is also expected to be aligned more closely with the rest of the market in the coming year. Now, if that happens, broader sector exposure, especially sa outside of the tech sector, it will also play a key role in cushioning any volatility in those heavyweight names. Now, on the flip side, if the AI boom keeps exceeding market expectations, those major tech players may still have plenty of room to run.
So as we have been hearing no sa mga natin, sa mga either friends or we have been reading up sa mga news articles na there's a lot of caution being raised about AI. So one of which is it's an animal that we really do not have any control of. So maraming nagsasabi na hindi natin alam kung anong kahihinatnan ng AI. So if we are to think or if we are going to consider that our investing public will become more cautious in investing sa AI companies or AI stocks, do we expect that AI stocks would somehow pull back? Should we continue on investing in AI stocks having known all these things?
That's actually a good question, Sir Ed. Since napag-uusapan natin yung sa year-end review, regarding sa question po ninyo, at the end of the day, it can be still very subjective. Kasi alam naman natin na yung mga traders or investors, they have different portfolios, Now, if they think that medyo dangerous yung mag-trade sa mga AI stocks or mag-invest, then they can still move sa mga ibang assets. Like na-mention natin sa part mo, Sir, sa Q1 and Q2, yung gold. Isa sa pinaka-popular na instruments na pwede na lang i-trade. At the same time, yung ETFs. And they can also go to stocks, can be shares or indices, and even sa Forex. But there's this thing called impact investing na pwede na lang gawin din. So, with your expertise, Sir Ed, can you share them some ideas or maybe yung knowledge about that term?
Ang impact investing has been around the corner for quite a time now, So, ang impact investing, it only means that investors are able to maximize yung profit nila, but having said that, they still consider yung social and social impact and environmental impact ng company na pinag-iinvestan nila. This is particularly with stocks. So, taking into consideration yung ating AI, so when you include impact investing in the equation, ang ibig lang sabihin sa atin yan is we should be more conscious of the companies that we invest in, lalong-lalo na pagdating sa AI. Because kung yung company na yon are known for not being responsible sa mga developments nila sa AI, then that could be a red flag, Because we should pick companies that are responsible enough in monitoring or in keeping up policies with respect to AI products. So yun yung dapat nating laging isaala-alang, because AI is something that it's something that we do not really know 100%.
That's why they call it AI bubble.
Yeah.
Kumbaga anytime pwede siyang mawala,
Correct.
Kaya they need to be cautious. But may mga times kasi talaga na tag siya as AI bubble, talagang may possibility na mag-boom. And it can also be lucrative for a lot of investors or maybe traders. And that wraps up our recap of Q3 and Q4 Smart Traders. By understanding what drove these trends, we can approach future trades with more insight and confidence. Keep observing, keep analyzing, and don't hesitate to explore more learning opportunities with us here at SmarTrade. This is Gab Santos reminding you to trade smart and stay curious. See you next time, guys. Bye-bye.